Hello, everybody.
Oh, there we are. Uh, Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. I am Artosis, of course, as always. And with me here is Cobra Venom. He is the brains behind the show and always has been. He's the one that always puts it together, also known as Matt. Today, we're going to talk about Geoff a little bit. Let me give you a little roadmap of what the show is going to look like. So, I mean, obviously, we want to say a couple things. It's a little bit hard to talk about, but Geoff was one of the makers of this show, of course, and a good friend to both of us. And then we're going to have some highlights and things that people have said. Matt, do you want to kind of explain what the rest of the show will be after that?
Yeah, we have some highlights from various people have sent in clips and footage from our show and other places on the internet where Geoff has been. And then a lot of people have submitted footage and requested that it be played at one of the memorial services, or if it was too late for that, it's been submitted here. So we have a bunch of that to show you. I want to extend a thank you to everybody who submitted footage and sends their thoughts and wishes for us. Thank you.
Yeah. And if you watched the entire memorial broadcast from the 10th, then you've seen some of this footage already for sure, just to let people know about that.
There's a little bit of it, but some of it's new.
Yeah. So, okay, so that's the outline of the show. Matt, I guess you want to say something about Geoff?
Yeah, Geoff meant a lot to everyone, and these past 2 weeks haven't necessarily been easy, but Geoff was a close friend and even a business partner in the last several years, and nobody could ever fill his shoes, but I'm very honored that Geoff entrusted me with many things and got to work alongside him. And producing the show is one of the biggest responsibilities that I'm thankful that he endowed me with. I'm appreciative for everything he did for the scene, and we'll do the best we can to uphold his legacy and carry everything on. That's about it. Thank you.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't even know for myself what to say. I made a few tweets that kind of show my emotional spot in this whole thing. I guess let me say this thing that I've said to a few other friends. Like I spoke with Roddy and Todd and Nick and Day 9 and Apollo and stuff. Other people that were mutually really close with Geoff. A lot of people. I lead a very strange life. All of us that are StarCraft commentators and whatnot lead extremely strange lives. When you ask me who my friends are, they're basically all on the internet, which is, my family has always thought this was strange, but for me, it's been really good. And if you look at people who are your friends in real life, not that there's anything wrong with having real life friends, of course, but if you check the boxes of what makes someone a friend in real life, the big box you're checking there is that they live near you, so you get to see them, because that's, for most of human history, that's been a big prerequisite to have a person as a friend, right? So maybe you check that, and maybe you check, oh, this is my friend that I like to watch football with, right? So now you have 2 boxes, and like, oh, we both like to have a beer. Okay, there you go. You got 3 boxes. What the internet and specifically StarCraft has done for me, and part of the reason why my life is so strange, is all my friends are people that I've checked countless boxes with. It's like the specifically how much these people are like me and how much I have been able to connect with them. It's crazy. Think about it, right? So let me all right, I'm going to list a few things, and I'm going to tell you the names that fit in, right? It's like, okay, born in the 80s, basically watched all the same cartoons and read all the same books and had the same growing up experiences in school, and then, you know, like to read, and then like StarCraft, plays a lot of competitive games and becomes a StarCraft commentator and travels the world, and you know, very much into humor. And the thing is, the list can go on and on, but you know, it's just, I guess I'm very lucky, right? If you start looking at that, there's not many people that will check that many boxes and be so similar. And I I've been very lucky to have people like Tasteless and Geoff and Day9 and Roddy and Todd, and you know, all these wonderful people that are basically just exactly like me. And now one of them is gone, and it's like too much to even to even it can't be described, it can't be explained. And I feel cheap even talking about it at any moment, because he's gone, his life is gone. But uh Geoff just he meant so much. Like, he's someone who always uh like believed in me. That's actually how we kind of started our friendship. Was you know, he started like a new USA team. The main USA team in Brood War wasn't letting the players that were actually good on. It was just like some big names and stuff. And so Geoff made his own squad of the players who were actually good, and then we bashed the other team. And uh, you know, he immediately got me for that and fielded me all the time. And then he joined my team Media in StarCraft 1, because TOT, which a lot of people thought were the best team, weren't really respecting him as a strong player. So he came over to Media and got fielded all the time there. And Geoff and I normally saw eye to eye on basically everything. We always tried to work together as much as possible. You know, the early State of the Game uh, show we were on together. Something people don't know, Nick and I tried to get Geoff to move to Korea to cast GSL with us back in the beginning. Uh, he wasn't willing to move to Korea, unfortunately. They actually tried to get us to move to cast NASL, and there was an offer for that, but luckily we turned that one down.
Oh, it's that one.
There were yeah, there were other offers and things like that too. I always felt like I just paired very, very well with Geoff. He was one of my favorite people to see anywhere and to travel anywhere. You know, at this point in my life, I don't like to travel as much as I used to. It was really super fun in the beginning, getting on an airplane and flying to some country to cast. Nowadays, normally I'm like, okay, well now I have to go. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of sad. I'm gonna miss my family and my home and stuff. And the thing my wife would always say is, "Oh, Geoff's going to be there. Like, you'll have a lot of fun with the boys," because he just was someone that, you know, I forget when we became friends. Maybe it was 2003, maybe it was 2004, but it was a long time ago. Um, you know, I think I mentioned before, the most fun I've had working wise in my life were those 4 shows that Geoff and Sean and Nick and I all did together for StarCraft 1. And that's again because those guys check all the boxes, where we are like such similar humans and have similar senses of humor and things. And it was that we got a lot of questions from the Patreon and stuff, about, are we going to see any more shows like that? And Geoff and I were working on that. We wanted to keep that going. It didn't look like that was going to work out. Day9 and Tasteless both want to do that too, but it's really hard to make stuff work out like that. But you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is Geoff and I had a lot of plans to try things, to do things together, and yeah, I don't know exactly where I'm going with it, but I'm really happy that we ended up making the Pylon Show together. It was tough. We worked on it for years trying to get this show going. originally the idea was to get Blizzard to fund it, and they kept telling us that like, oh, there's not enough going on in StarCraft. You guys won't be able to do it. And we just would always answer like, Geoff and I can literally talk endlessly with each other. Endlessly. When StarCraft is our topic, that's just, you know, just, man. It still doesn't really feel completely real. And I just love Geoff forever and miss him always. You know, spend time with those that you care about and let them know, guys. It's important. Yeah. So, you know, there's so many stories about Geoff, and I'm sure I'll be telling them for the rest of my life, and it's a huge loss. Yeah, I think that's about all I really want to say right now.
Okay.
So we're gonna get into the rest of the videos and some highlights of things that Geoff did. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm gonna win the most evil genius tournament. It's easy. All those guys can't even reach the cookie jar. It'd be like taking candy from a baby. Greg's in the shower.
Oh God.
Well, hey Dan, I'm gonna have Lindsay make some oatmeal raisin cookies. Bring them to Orlando.
Please, I would love that so much. No,
And you know what? I'm gonna like talk to Sundance. I'm gonna say, hey Sundance, me and Dan need 5 minutes to these oatmeal raisin cookies on stage. Like, I know you can find 5 minutes in the weekend to make this a priority.
I'm sure it'll happen. I'm really wondering what that box is.
Do you think I'm funny too? Oh God!
And the overacting award goes to Geoff.
There's like 3 guys really mad about this monster can sitting here, and I want you to know it's for you. I'll tell you what, if you chug that right now, I'll give you 20 euro. I'll do it with you, okay?
All right. All right. Ah, that was delicious. Oh, you finished yours after mine.
So what we learned from this is that James is not a dick, he's actually a pussy.
He worked a paint job and then came home and into the wee hours of the night did a podcast. You know, like that's good stuff. And I agree with what Tyler said. As we push forward,
Jason Lake, sorry.
The opportunities are going to be more present, I feel like, for guys like us to take our jobs now in our 20s and continue to do it into our 30s and 40s.
I'm sure we'll
because of guys like those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers to them, please. Cheers to them.
To our invisible cups, at least over here.
To our invisible cups. DJ Weetzer Scoots, Odie, you old people. You might shit the bed. You might be uglier. Your balls are sagging a lot worse. Things like fast food is a conundrum to you. You might get more grumpy. I mean, Sir Scoot's Twitter is absolute shit these days. Can we be honest with you?
Yeah, get your shit together.
What you've
get
done,
your shit together,
what
Scott.
you've done for the workplace, what you've done just by being the redwood trees of our scene, absolutely phenomenal. We'd do a commercial break if we could, but unfortunately we still don't have.
I still can't run commercials.
You are super not boring. Actually, on that point, I complimented him on his fantastic Christian Bale player introduction, and he said, you know what? I can actually do a Bane one, too. I'm going to put you on that spot.
You said you were going to do yours. It's not even fair. You have to do yours first, and then I can decide whether or not I think mine's good enough to do.
You know what? We'll Bane off. We're going to Bane off. I'll introduce one player. It's okay. We'll wait. I won't sit just yet. I can stand longer. We are in game, and we are going to have a Bane off to start this thing off. So I shall go first.
I'm curious to see what your method is.
In the top left-hand side of Frost, it is Daisy.
That was okay.
It's Yoda.
No, on my screen it's blue.
Yeah, but on Funka's it was Yoda.
Well, I'm not to be blamed. It's blue on mine.
Well, see, now it's hard because I don't want to introduce the same player as you. We've messed up. All right.
Corrected it.
All right. So now that the camera's on Daisy, I'll introduce Yoda.
Is it really reversed?
In the top right position, playing as the one starring player, it is Yoda. Building widow mines for you.
That's really good. I'm Gotham's Reckoning.
Did I tell you that before this whole casting thing, I was like, man, I would really love to be a voice actor one day.
Hey, you could do it.
It's my dream.
Spawning in the bottom right position as the blue Zerg player representing Dead Pixels, we have Scarlet. That's not really...
It's fine. You've done better. Yeah. The thing with British people, to get their goat, you just do the old Hackney, just way over the top.
Yeah,
Evening, Governor. In the left-hand side, sporing a right bit ticklish and root like that. In the whole back, it's Halston for the Dutchland.
And every British person's like, we don't sound like that. That's terrible.
What are those units? I've never seen that before.
We are the queens of the Zerg. We're made off the queen's nest, as you can imagine. We're mostly useless.
What's up, guys? This is iNcontroL. We're going to go around Toronto and ask a few questions. We're going to ask him about Nathanius, but we're going to ask him what his name is, what he does, and where he's from.
He works at a bank, maybe? Bank? I don't know, I might be way off.
No. You're dead on, bro.
I'm working for a bank.
Work for a bank?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Oh, that's a bit hard. He has a wonderful face, so I can't really tell.
Well, what's a wonderful face guy name, you know?
Robert Smith.
Robert Smith. Bob Smith for short. I like it. That's good.
Maybe like a John, but even though
I say Mike.
Mike? Yeah.
Mike.
He looks like a Mike.
That's Robert W. Jenkins. He's clearly not from Toronto, because you see a lot of people from Toronto. They got a lot of style. Sorry, he clearly does not have
no style. No style on this one.
He does look like he has a somewhat professional job. I'm gonna guess probably a tax return agent, like not H&R Block, but more of a local.
Even smaller than H&R Block.
Obviously smaller than H&R Block. Robert, he went to community college, but he wanted to be a banker, the big leagues as he called it, but he just couldn't cut it.
This is an incredibly accurate answer. Right? I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Song that I liked was Jaedong, I guess, beating out Golden to make it out of the group. I don't even have any analysis. I'm just completely in love with it.
I don't want to have to follow something like that up, but I'm going to try to say something at least as substantial. This tournament is about Todd as far as I'm concerned at this point, okay? This guy, he is a pro gamer that, he was a Legend of Warcraft 3. He came to StarCraft 2 and has been kind of mediocre-ish to good. He's had some good results, made Premier League and stuff. But the thing is, he's been commentating a lot recently. And, that's something, sometimes pros take a step back. They're like, maybe I'm going to try this commentary thing a little bit. I got to make some money, and I still love the game. Maybe I'm not doing as well as I should. And
wow.
Whoa! But Todd
Wait a second. I'm pretty sure you as well tried to keep playing competitive.
I think what we can really take away from this today is, had the rest of us signed up for this tournament and played in it, my God, the results would have been different.
There'd be no Koreans left.
There would be no Koreans
Based on
left.
Artosis, I too have a different answer.
And possibly subpar commentary.
Nick, please. All right. Let me add more substance to mine. Jaedong is a player who's been struggling recently. We all know that he's one of the best pro players ever, but now he's in the round of 16.
I'm glad all the practicing mimes at home now understand what you said.
Okay, it's time to get out of here. See you in Argentina. It's like we're hosting a tournament in an airport right now.
United Airlines Flight 372 is going to be boarding. If those guys over there playing the finals of that StarCraft tournament could shut the fuck up, please. Rows 1 through 15. That's all the rich white people in the first class. If you guys could make your way over here. Was I not supposed to say that? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I do wonder what was actually happening because everybody was very happy.
What is he announcing back there?
I think he said like,
oh, he did.
One thing I do know how to talk about are probes and pylons. So Geoff, I'm ready. First map is going to be Brian Terraces. Take it away.
All right, let's talk about these first players in the top left-hand side from France. It is Lilbo. You know what, Kevin?
Tell me.
Do you want to out-hype the French guys?
No.
Can I do it?
You can absolutely do it, but not Saturday morning.
Let me do it. Ready?
Yes, go for it.
Ready?
Yes.
From Ronald Reagan's America, representing freedom, burgers, French fries, and all that is good in this world, it is Liv! That's how you do it, France! Boom! On your face.
Hang on, I'll get to the bottom of this. Hey, Bar. Yeah, it's Geoff. I just played a game. You were watching? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, tier 3 would be great. Look, at one point in the game, I lost my gold base, and I talked about how, because he hadn't built his gold base yet, I was going to be okay. It was wrong. Yeah. Yeah, he's in the chat. You want me to... Jay, 1 second. Barack Obama's saying... Let me get this right. What is... Okay. He says you are a diddly-wink poopy face, and he wants you to know that he banged your mom. Banged, really? Kind of an aggressive term for that, isn't it? No shit.
I'm going to leave you with this one. It's a qualification series. The winner moves on to the round of 24.
Oh, I think he actually left us with that. Did you leave us with that? Does it go to us?
We are totally on camera now, Jeffrey.
I just, that kind of handoff is like, yeah, I don't even know. He's like, I'm going to leave you with this declarative statement. And then he like walked away and I was like,
what's going on?
Milady, thank you, James. Well,
you know, Geoff, I've had a lot of fun so far at Home Story Cup 14, but there is one person that I'm really missing.
Are we missing Red Eye?
Yes, we are missing Red Eye.
All right.
So if you could just bring him here for at least, 2-player introductions, I think everybody on the stream is going to be incredibly happy.
Try my best. The father of esports.
Right then, so in the lower right-hand side of Frozen Temple, literally the best American. Literally a goddamn shining beacon of an erection of a human man. Conceived of the flowing juices between my genitals that are still very vital, by the way. Some people put that to question. I shoot it down. No pun intended, literally. It's Neeb. You can see the look of determination on his face. Probably a good wank or two in there as well.
Jesus, Geoff.
It's not me.
Okay. And in the top left-hand side, if I were to have a son, if I were to literally conceive from my loins a son, and then he were to star in a Star Wars movie, and then be back into my son, it would be this man, literally Snoot. And her opponent, in the lower right-hand side, it's a Dutchman. It's Harstem, all right? That's not it. That's literally not it. He stands at 9 feet tall with a donger. It's like 27 feet, vertical, horizontal. Its penetrative power is that of 9 times 3 divided by 2 and plus a lot. It's got a big one. My name is Red Eye, and that's Harstem. I'm the greatest goddamn host to ever come out of Queens country.
Beautiful.
Direct quote.
That was good.
Beautiful.
Direct quote. I feel like at this point there's no way he's cool with his impressions.
He's not. He's not. Someone always tweets and they're like, "Hey, Jeff's doing your red eye again." It's like, I'm glad for him, but I know it's happening. He's like smashing a keyboard on the table.
He can't keep getting away with it.
You can get really good at controlling your guns where you can kind of march in there, but you got to control everything perfectly.
I feel like the Dragoon should only have one saying that it says. It's like, someone poisoned the water hole, and you just move it around. It just keeps saying that forever. someone poisoned, someone poisoned. You're like, God dang it. I hate Master Goons.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Nick is.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh my God.
If I ever did stand-up comedy, I'd fly Nick out to every fucking event, man. Every one of them.
Yeah, Nick would be in the front row.
I would.
Jeff would make that same joke
I
every
just
time.
digitally replicate.
That's
exactly right.
Protoss are like, it is such a stupid unit. The idea. You gotta micro stupid things, man. They just keep repeating.
But over time, you acquire the taste. Same with metal. When you listen to metal, the first couple times, you're like, yeah, okay, what? But after a while, you could hear better metal. Parting Stream is a lot like that. You first tune in, it's...
Oh, fuck you!
And it's like, oh, it sounds terrible. This is weird. But then you kind of pick up on when he's saying it and where he's doing it, and you're like... Yeah. I can't wait, because then someone will be like, they'll know GG, like, oh, no GG, okay. Fuck you.
Honestly, you can take it any one of two places, really, for both players.
Oh my.
Naturally, the question, of course, is what kind of attack paths are you looking at when you got this? But yeah, it's kind of third base.
Where do we attack from, Jeff?
Honestly, it can come from anywhere, but a lot of times,
All right. Whoa.
You know what? You can kind of you get the idea.
No. Can we just?
Yeah.
Are we done? Are you done, Jeff?
Yes, and with plenty of fourth base options as well. Oftentimes you think about taking the middle one, but that's a little bit too central. You don't want to hang it out too far out in the middle. You kind of want to go off to the side.
Don't hang it out. Yeah.
But again, the question becomes, where am I going to get attacked from? And it's a lot of times.
No. Do I have to get the co out again?
Anyways, this has been a really nice walkthrough on Kairos Junction. Hopefully you guys have a better idea of how to expand and where to be attacked on from this map.
Sentry's coming over here, forget about it.
Good
There's
luck.
No DPS
Good
there.
luck lifting the 50 queens that are going to pop out of this worm.
I think that's it. I think so. This was a terrible series. I mean, I'm just going to say it. Like, there's so much good StarCraft coming that I can comfortably say that, knowing we'll have better. But, man, trust. Two Lings make it in. They see the tech, and he says, you know what? Phoenix are good, right, Roddy? And Roddy's like, yeah. Well, you're wrong.
GG.
See you in the lower bracket, nerd.
Let's talk. Let's be humans. Let's hang out. Please don't ask me questions like, is it raining in Seattle? It's like, just check the weather. I'm gonna go insane one day. You'll see it. You've seen it coming. I'm gonna fucking snap. They're like, yeah, that ain't control, guys. Saw it coming for a while. What was the question that finally got him? It'll be when is the Pylon Show? What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 37 of the Pylon Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Before I even get going with the show, I apologize. I'm all sweaty. I just ran here from NeuroZerg's mom's house. No, I'm just kidding.
The two of us had a wonderful conversation. She's a very nice lady.
My mom's in the other room. I didn't even hear you.
I'm a light stepper, my friend. Anyways, that was incredibly unprofessional. We've been on 4 dates. I should tell the whole story. It's not just like that. Anyways, I'm also just got back from the gym. Welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We've got an all-star cast of people.
One of the players is taking a bathroom break. Production said, if you guys want, you can take a break, or you can keep talking about StarCraft. And I'll have you know, if I have a chance to talk about StarCraft, I'm going to do it. Commercials? Not today. Actually, yeah, go to a quick 3-minute commercial break. That'll be totally fine. We'll be right back after this, guys. Rainer, 16 years old, creator 22. Add their ages together, 38. Guess how old Artosis is? Yes. He's 76. which is 38 times 2. So it's just these numbers, man, that are hidden in this beautiful game, amazing. So to kind of set the stage for us, I think it's really important to draw this out. A couple things here. Ragnarok is playing Zerg, of course. So notice a few things. One, spent all his money. He's down to 1 mineral. This is something that Terran players have never seen the lights of. It's impossible to do that. But for Zerg players, they have to squeeze every single mineral out to even have a chance. Another thing to draw attention to, 900 APM. This guy right now is actually playing so fast that he probably has to change out keyboards in between each game. Notice it over here. Actually, I moved it, but it was actually about a 260 APM for the Terran player. Not as much to do when you're using weapons of mass destruction. Also, keep in mind a couple things over here. Losses. The Zerg players lost a lot more. Standard, right? They just have more casualties. They have to work through a lot worse things. Idle time, almost non-existent. It is the number 69, but I'm going to ask we be pretty mature about that. Idle time for the Terran player is in the thousands. Literally has not much to do when you're just dropping meals and winning games. It's pretty simple. Now, kind of getting into more of the situation here. We're getting closer to the final bout. James, hang on. We're building up to it.
Okay.
The Zerg is moving in with what it could rally together, okay? This is something that's piecemealed together at that Hive Tech, the latest stage of the Zerg place, and it's doing what it can. Meanwhile, it's facing the great threat of the Oppressor. This is a 2 medevac drop over here on the right side that is threatening these kind of undefended little Zerg villages here.
Kevin's going to be dying in that back room watching this.
Listen, you're breaking my narrative, all right? It's not looking good if you're Ragnarok. So let's kind of get inside the game here a little bit. Let's move at normal speed. Actually, hang on. I've got it going too fast. There we go. Let's break this down here. It's a planetary fortress. Keep in mind, it's a fortress, right? Somehow, Ragnarok's able to get a full surround on this. This is a big deal right here. Baneling's connecting with the repairing SCVs. He does kill it, but the real fight's over here. Innovation's going to pull back to the high ground. He has the high ground now, Anakin. There's no chance in hell for the Zerg player, right? Wrong. Ragnarok never stops believing. He's going to push up into this high ground, past the amassed forces of Innovation, and somehow get on top of this base over here. Now, there's a critical moment coming in here, James, and it's really important you see this.
Okay.
So this is only the 3rd base of the Terran, all right? This is like this 3rd smallest boss. You've got army over here. You've got army over here. But the real objective, James, is to push this way.
Yes.
Up into the natural, where it's really got to find that victory, okay? James, does he do it?
Yes.
Of course he does. James
yes.
is a Zerg player. He believes in himself. So here we go. The Broodlord's just barely getting past this. They are going to fight up here. Now, again, this is a moment where I have to draw attention to this. Full surround on this depot. Anyways, you know what? I think a lot of you can probably draw your conclusion.
I'm going to stand up now.
Yeah. That's it. I see Rotterdam educating the masses. I want in on that, okay? I want to be a part of that crowd, and I think this is an important moment in this game. Ragnarok, if you can believe it, at the end of this replay, does take the win, and with it the series. And Innovation's still looking for his first victory here at IM Katowice.
I want to just take a step back a moment.
Yeah.
I actually started timing that when you began, and it was still shorter than Rotterdam's last section.
Come on.
So
all right.
I do apologize.
There's so much information in these games. I don't quite have the gift that Rotterdam does yet to slow it down to the smallest and most intricate moments. And I'll keep working. I'll endeavor to do better.
Thank you, Geoff.
I'll tell you right now, there are Terran players out there that are right now mopping their salty tears off their keyboard. They're like, I need to tweet about this. I'm really upset. And one of them's, we got him here. So DeMuslim normally would occupy about 40% of that, but he can't because he's hired here. But I'm looking at you, Hero Marine. I'm looking at you, everyone else. They can't do it. Don't do it. Maru played stupid. It's his fault.
By the way. Okay, force field upgrades.
force field are great in small armies, in big armies suck.
Patience. Oh my
Just look
god,
at
that blink.
Force field!
What
I'm
in
with
the
the game.
absolute fuck
Yeah.
was he thinking?
Insane force field.
To give you guys an idea of how counter-instinctual that is, that would be like coming into a room and there's a frickin' tiger in it, and instead of running out screaming, you slam the door behind you and try to kick it in the junk. That's what just happened. And everyone else is on the other side of the door being like, no, what? But then he like retreats from the fight, so he comes out of there all mauled up. He's like, whoa, there's a tiger in there. We're all like, yeah. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I tried to kick it in the dick.
But he's not going all in on it. We just got a shot from our amazing observer here, Mapu, and we saw that he's adding a third CC. So this is a little bit of like implied pressure. He's going to go ahead, go with the Hellions in the backfield. The Zerglings do get a bit of a surround, but those are Hellions. They have to get the hell out of there. A few more drones are dying, and ZergGirrl being tested early on here.
Yeah, I absolutely love this. Really using this position to get
oh my
right
God!
up in his face.
That was incredible! Oh gosh,
yeah,
you guys
okay.
missed
we
it.
got it back.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
How that dropped.
Dang.
Yeah, that was like a...
Did you see that battle cruiser come in like that? Yamato itself, and then an Ultralist fell out.
And then it disappeared. You actually saw the Leviathan in-game for a brief moment, and it
holy cow. Well,
doesn't happen often.
Let's get this game back to normal here, all right?
So he is going for the Spire now, but here's the Raven, and there's a lot of
favorite players. Jon Snow, one of the better North American Zerg players. He's been starting to, I'm already mentally there, so I'm just gonna go with it. It's kind of like the crowning of the head of like an emerging professional North American player. Like, he's made some pokes into WCS events last year. We saw a little bit of, he was just coming through. But it's a long process to give birth to a North American Protoss player or professional player, because even to this day, he still hasn't quite fully emerged. We're not going to C-section this. You got to battle Neeb. You got to battle Neeb to get out of there. And should he do it, maybe we'll be swaddling a nice, just born professional North American player. Is that good? See, it happens in my head, and I just have to do it. It's like it's my own.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're gonna defend it, watch this. Guess he's trapped.
Welcome to my playground of pain.
Show them how much money they can win, production. Didn't have that on cue, did you? There it is. $1,600, which if you think about it, is $400 broken down into 4 stacks of $400 to equal $1,600. You could say in the 4-person group, if you are the top number 1, you get all of their $400. But that's not true, because they also get $400, even for taking last. What's your thoughts, Zombie Grub?
What?
Thank you.
As interesting as these player shots are, this game is getting to a pretty cool conclusion. There it is. And I'll tell you what, if this is asserting your dominance, well, tell me the safety word now, because I am done.
The real reason why Protoss is a bullshit A-move race is the Zealot. The Zealot is too strong, the Zealot's too overpowered, the Zealot is broken, and the Zealot makes every build a lot stronger. Guys, is there a problem with the Zealot?
The Zealot?
The Zealot.
Imagine for a second a 7-foot-tall, biologically engineered post-human in powered armor carrying a space-advanced nail gun, shooting projectiles at subsonic speeds, hitting both air and ground. Then take your mind and add drugs to it that quadruples their speed, makes them move faster, shoot faster, which doesn't make sense, by the way. Why would you shoot a gun faster if you're on drugs? Is the gun taking the drugs? Are you clicking it faster? Could you not just click it faster any fucking ways? Why do the drugs affect the gun? Imagine this guy, take the cost. You'd say, Geoff, it's got to cost twice what a Zealot does, because a Zealot fucking can only punch things up close with its psi blades that it generates out of its mind. No, it's half the cost. And you literally make them at the beginning of the game. Well, we're like, well, surely they fall off later in the game. They get better. They're the counter to the capital ship of the Protoss. And when I say capital ship, I mean literally a city flying above the planet. The Space Marine on drugs shoots everything it has into the sky, and then the capital ship becomes a blimp. What do you mean a blimp, Geoff? I mean literally a fucking blimp. It has no attacks. It can every 6 minutes make another interceptor to get shot by a tier 1 Space Marine with a drug-induced gun. The Zealot? If you're bitching about a Zealot, I've got such terrible news for you. There's gravity on Earth, and it must be crushing your weak, puny ass. Get off the ground, stop whining, and play Terran. Fuck off, seriously, the Zealot. Insane.
No, I know that attack, man. I called it. 16 Marines, 2 medevac. That used to be a huge class in Heart of the Swarm.
Especially like on a map like this, like by default, you're close by air, like so to speak.
They're funny. I read your note production and I chuckle to myself.
Who gave this?
One of the production people. They want us to hype them up more. Oh, man. You silly gooses.
And I feel like right now, situation-wise, this could be very good because look at Violet's base. He's going for a fairly quick spire. I think he has no idea.
Okay.
I don't think there is a Baneling nest. I didn't see it yet. If there are no Banelings against a lot of Marines plus Medivacs dropping in his base, this could just be a build or the win. And I know I'm hyping this a lot right now.
Todd.
And usually when I do this,
it ends
the
up
player
bad.
gets shut down. But right now, I'm really feeling it's in control.
Well, Todd, to make up for the player introductions, we're going to blow this up when these Marines land, man. This
Completely
is
out of proportion. I'm counting on you, Geoff.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Let's make production.
We're going to drown the French in our pride and joy here. Here come the medevacs. Can we get a zoom in on this? Can I guess take a map? Well, first it's going to be a counterattack. The bunker there. Overlord spots. He says, yo, celebrate. They're coming. There's no Baneliness. They're going to boost in here. They land on top of that Overlord. But the Zerglings are across the map. It's just drones and queens. They're coming back. Can they make it back in time? It's going to be really close. The Marines are moving into the base. They're going on top of the base. They're stimming. They're taking drugs at the moment in time, which is actually kind of good for you guys. They're going to shoot the drones. They're going for the queen. The Zerglings coming in, but there's no Baneling.
There's nothing.
Holy shit, he's doing. He killed the Overlord and the drones.
Banelings start now.
The Banelings, it's too late, Todd. There's not enough time, and Mules are coming out and dying as they come out. Violet, your dreams are crushed. The lamentations of your women can be heard all the way in Australia from here in France, and it's gonna happen. There's the Banelings, but they're slow. Picked off by perfect micro from this foreign player. JJ's call out! Wow. I have had multiple StarCraft 2 excitement orgasms in that cast. That was amazing. iControL with the bob of his head. He knows what he did. He knows what he's done. Wow. That's what it's like to be a French commentator. It feels good, actually. I like that.
You just run out of stamina very fast.
Oh, I'm done. That's it. Yeah, I'm super jet lagged. That's all I got.
You dunked on him on Twitter, but you praise Uthermal. Very nice. Very good. All right, guys. Well, we're going to let Beyond get comfortable and ready for this amazing grand final. It's going to be Zest versus Beyond in a best of 7 to decide who's the champion of Home Story Cup 15. Don't go anywhere unless you're one of the guys that said I'm a bad commentator, in which case you can fuck off. We'll see you guys soon.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 48 of The Pylon Show. I am one of the hosts, Mr. iNcontroL, joined by the #1 hater of the entire European scene, the guy that believes them all to be significantly worse than the NA scene. It's my good buddy here, Dan ArtosisTV. Dan, thanks for always being here, buddy. You're great.
Yeah, thank you. That was a wonderful introduction for me, and really, truly accurate. happy to have another Pylon episode.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. Dan, before we get started with our guests and stuff like that, I mean, what do you think it'll take for the European scene to catch up to the bottom tier NA scene? Like,
Man, that was out of control watching my Twitter blow up when Fear Dragon made that tweet. Like, for anyone who is unaware of what it was, I made like an offhanded comment about, you know how like Terrans and Zergs team up to get Protoss nerfed all the time? They whine together for that. I just mentioned that like the European scene's a little bit like this, stating their skill, you know, to get the more tournaments. And like then Fear Dragon like added some to it and like made a tweet, made a clip, and it blew up. And it was like, guys, I know you're good. It was so weird. Anyways,
one of my favorite trolls. Fear Dragon
much
did
love to the European scene. They're very strong.
Of course. Fear Dragon did one of my favorite things, which is like, and I do this on purpose. I think he did on accident because he's such a pure-hearted, good guy. But like, there'll be a room full of people, and one person will be like, I don't really like cheese, and here's my reasons why. And then I'll be like, I agree. Everyone that makes cheese should be murdered and thrown out into the river or something like that. He's like, well, that's not what I was saying. It's kind of what Fear Dragon did. Like, Dan makes this comment about Europeans, like a little bit more antiquated than what. Fear Dragon's like, I agree. The NA scene is just as good as the European scene. And, well, the Europeans got pretty upset when they woke up the next day. Anyways, it was funny. Trolling aside, we got two wonderful guests here. I didn't know, but due to the 1-year anniversary episode, Mr. Rifkin he's up there. I think this is your 9th appearance or something like that. You're one of the most... Am I right?
I like 9. I've been on here like 3 times, I think, maybe 4.
Oh, that's
now you're lying. Jesus Christ!
I don't think it's 9
that's
though.
The weirdest thing to lie about. Rick.
We had the graphic. Yeah, are you too cool for this? Is that what's happening right now? You're like, well, I think it's been like 3. You guys begged me to come on here. Look, I can't remember how many.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't know. I was just off the top of my head. Like 9 seemed high, but yeah, no, this is my 9th episode. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
There you go. See, that's what I wanted. Cobra's busy doing other stuff, so we can't pull up the graphic and really lay it on you. But yeah, it's a lot. Anyways, we're happy to have Rifkin on here. It was originally going to be a meme episode, and we have a special guest coming down the pipeline. But instead of a memer, we got a super straightforward, very serious guy here. NA player, recently eliminated from WCS, and he's going to talk a little bit about that journey. Mr. Ruff SC2, thank you for coming on, dude.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. And let's just say it was a pretty rough journey.
Oh, Jesus. Did you just pun off your own name?
I do it all the time.
I can't believe that. Every time someone's like, wow, he's not really in control of his feelings, I just want to die inside. Wait, there's the graphic. I can't see it, Cobra. Where is he? Rifkin. It was 4, or is that 4 now, Cobra?
It's 5 now. It was 4.
So you forgot about 2 appearances, Rifkin?
I'm pretty sure this is 9, dude. Okay, like for real.
He's been on here 9 times. I counted.
Yeah.
2 VODs.
Well, some of those count as 2, I think.
See, that 4 looks like a 9, so I get the misunderstanding. Like, it makes sense.
Yeah. Fair enough. Anyways, that's the show we have assembled for you guys. We got some great topics. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. But first, of course, I must lay on the floor in a pool of my own tears and beg for you all to give us more money. We are slowly but surely building an exoskeleton. We need about 300,000 more patrons. And eventually what we're going to do is make a Mechadan, because it's come to our attention that Tasteless has started his own podcast to rival ours. And of course, the only way to kind of flush this out would be for Dan to do single combat with Tasteless. Tasteless has a atrophied and decrepit old man's body, so it would appear to be an easy fight, but Tasteless has some kind of weird, I don't want to quite call it mutant strength, or it's just the years of punishment he's done to his liver. He's kind of immune to physical damage, so Artosis needs to be able to do some pretty powerful attacks. So we're going to need you guys to support us. And you can support us through the following ways. First and foremost, our Patreon, which actually grew. Some of you signed up, and a few of you guys kind of contacted us and said, hey, I just signed up for your Patreon. Love the content. We really, really appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's just, like I always say, it's just amazing that it's going on and up. And we're proud of it. Thank you guys. We'll just keep on building it. Appreciate that. Yeah, so if you're wondering, if you can join up on this, what would be the benefits? We're always working to improve this, and probably in the near future we'll look for more ways to incentivize it. But for right now, you can ask us questions. You can get the VOD immediately. That's one of the biggest perks, I would say, is a lot of people are like, I don't want to wait, and I don't want to sub to that stupid in control guy. Well, you don't have to. You can just be a Patreon supporter, and then Cobra works really hard to get that VOD to you immediately.
Within a couple hours, yep.
Within a couple hours, because it does actually take time.
Nice.
Very, very cool. The other way you can support us is, of course, through Matcherino. We have a really fun show match that we're putting together here. We'll talk more about that as it takes shape, but that is awesome. In the meantime, you can just go into it in Cobra. What is today's word? It is International Penguin Day. Dan, how do you feel about that? I know you're a big penguin fan.
International Penguin Day. Let's think about that for
World,
a moment. First off,
Penguin
they
Day.
only live in the southern hemisphere. So international, you say? Very odd. Very few countries actually have penguins native to them. How would this be an international
But
day?
yeah,
for this
here,
animal?
you know
I
what?
don't know.
We have a guest that can answer that. Now, Rifkin, you're from a northern hemisphere place called Canada. How do you feel about penguins?
They're cute. They just knighted one in Finland, which was kind of a cool, funny thing to see.
What?
Not even a native of Finland, as that's in the northern hemisphere.
Dude, they rolled out the
knighted
army.
one?
They all just salute this penguin. It was like cawing at them, like trying to establish dominance. But they have like a Sir Penguin like in the army now. It's pretty cool.
Wait, Finland, hang on. So many questions. First of all, Finland has knights, they have a military, and they knighted a penguin. Is that what you said?
Yeah, dude. He's like higher ranking than almost every soldier in the army. It's kind of ridiculous.
We live in a weird time.
Is he a good fighter? What did he do to get this?
Yeah. Well,
how do I
nothing.
become
It's
a
the
knight?
Finnish army.
You know what? I think survived, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. It was Norway, not Finland. My bad. I just had to double check that.
Yeah, it was knighted before ZergGirrl, which has
Makes
me...
more sense now.
That upsets
Yeah,
my
I know,
warrior
so
spirit.
much better.
Yeah. Well, anyways, you can go to Matcherino. The link is in our show notes. It'll probably be put in the chat. Type in penguin. No, a lot of our... Oh, Christ. There's actually a video of this. This is the happiest moment of my life.
I can't even... What am I looking at here? Why is
Look
this
at the
thing
penguin looking around at everybody. It's like, that's right. I'm a knight. You're not a knight. You're not a knight. You're not a knight. You're not a knight. Don't pet me. Get away from me, redhead. No.
Yeah. So there's International Everything Day, right? You guys know this because of your codes. One thing that I've never understood though is, well, you've got International Donut Day, International Penguin Day.
Yeah.
You ever notice nobody brought up International 420 Day on the day? Like not a single company was tweeting about the only actually recognized holiday, quote unquote. Like,
Yeah, that is so weird how all these companies didn't recognize 420 like that.
I'm just saying, there's one actual international day that everyone recognizes, and it's the one that no one actually recognized.
Rifkin, you might be
Doesn't
honest.
Norway
You might be
have
honest,
something
man.
better to do than knight a penguin?
Dude, does America have a knighted penguin? I don't think so. Okay.
We don't have knights in America. We don't have knights.
Yeah, you're right. That's one of our
giant
most
fighting robots, dude.
That's so stupid that we don't have knights. Here, you
But
guys.
the thing is,
Go
that
ahead.
penguin's not like. Why did it get that? Rifkin, you know. Come on, tell us.
Dude, I'm not a chronicler of the archives. I don't know what happened to get that penguin there. I saw the same video you did.
Well, anyways.
It's like watching a movie with my mom. I'm like 2 minutes in, like, who is he? I don't know, Mom. We're watching the same movie. Like,
moms do that.
You broke down. King? Oh my God, by the way, it wasn't Finland, it was Norway. You actually lied to us.
Oh.
Finland's way too serious for that. Norway is exactly the place that would knight a goddamn penguin.
yeah, a snoot, not a ZergGirl. Understand.
The guards
Understandable.
adopted him because they often toured the zoo during their visits to the Edinburgh Military Tattoo. It says, well, that can't be right. Literally, the notes for this says the Edinburgh Military Tattoo. Also, this happened in 2008, so... Are you guys trying to ruin my show? It's episode 48. Can we make it to 50? Can we make it to 50, please? Anyways, Cobra's going to show you. Here, hang on. And Cobra, let me take over the computer real quick for 1 second. Just as a quick aside.
Episode, everybody.
Guys, so you go to Matcherino. The link will be in there. You type in penguin just like this, but let me show you what happens. And this is my concentration level. Very often. Now, granted, I'm about to tease Matt, and for people that are sensitive about this, Matt is incredible. He does a lot of work. He's usually doing 5 things at once, so this is why it happens. But on screen, you can see it. Matt will be like, the code is penguin. Penguin.
Penguin.
Penguin.
Penguin.
Penguin. And he's like doing this while I'm like, just type it. And he'll go like this. He'll get really close, and I'll be like, penguin.
I love how, by the way, the little code thing's trying to recognize the prompt every time you get it kind of correct, and
Yeah.
it says $1, but then immediately disappears.
Well, we'll know if Matt is still my friend after the show, I suppose. But anyways, that's one of the funny things that goes on behind the scenes. You guys can't see it. Just type in penguin like that, and you'll contribute.
Penguin.
Penguin. Well, because I can see it on the previous screen, so I see what he's trying to do, and I'm like, you're almost there. It helps the prize pool, and of course, every week we say this, but if you're listening to this on YouTube or the next day or 5 days later, please do go in and put in this code. It will max out eventually, and then you can't put in the code, but every time you guys try and fill this up, it helps us out in a tremendous way. And of course, a shout out to MachineUSA for being such a big supporter of the scene. Riff, you do a lot of work with MachineUSA, right? It's prize pool stuff.
Yeah, they're great to work with. I've actually, like, not to fluff them up too much, but I've had no better luck than with them when it comes to crowdfunding stuff for tournaments. They've just been absolutely excellent. So
yeah, they're
good
great
people to work with.
And guys, they support StarCraft a lot. Like I said, they're working with Rifkin, they work with us, they work with Zombie, Wardy. If you're like all these people, please do what you can to support them because it's a pretty cool part of the scene. And of course, through Match Arena, you can buy some lovely merchandise that Matt and team have been working on. These shirts are so funny. And there's Rifkin on that one too, right there. Boop. You can see him.
Wait, what? When was this made? I need to order this like right now. I had no idea this was a shirt.
That does look
I got your permission for this, Rifkin. Don't you remember this?
I didn't think you were serious.
Well, of course he was.
Cardboard, hello.
We don't goof around here on the Pylon Show. We're dead serious about everything, man. So anyways, yeah, thank you. Great stuff there. We got some good events coming up, of course, for BlizzCon. If I don't know, we'll try to organize something, but if a lot of you can, if you buy merch, we'll try to get together and take a picture or something like that. That'd be really cool. We'll do all kinds of fun stuff. We got a great scene, and thank you guys for all of that. And of course, AFKT, as per usual, Mr. Lycan is producing some tea. He's a StarCraft guy as well. You guys can drink it, order it through there, and use the code PYLON. Save you a little bit of money, and of course, support their sponsor, supports the people in the scene. And that is it, I believe. And just as general recommendation, go through the website, of course. We talked a little bit about this with the Patreon. We have a really lovely website. It's actually really cool. If you are a Patreon supporter, this is where you go to ask the questions. And then it'll actually tell you when the next episode is. Which I do have to say, because I give a lot of shit, so I need to give compliments. I have not been getting as many people ask me when the next episode is. It's actually, there might be an end in sight. I never thought that was possible, but I think it actually might come a day.
You just mentioned it.
I know.
I know. Yeah, man, that was a rookie move.
No, I stare the abyss in the face on purpose. Like my dream goal is not that I don't actually experience this; it's that I taunt it and still it doesn't happen. That's what I want. Anyways, those are our sponsors and the lovely ways you can support the show. Mr. Artosis, if you could take us through This Week in StarCraft, that'd be great.
Okay, I gotta say one more quick thing before we do that.
Okay.
Because our wonderful Alessander has posted for us some more things about the Penguin. Apparently they visit the Penguin every few years to give it a new promotion.
No,
so
it's like a god
Here's
king.
my big question, right? Like in a post-apocalyptic world where a huge chunk of the population dies, you know, it's like,
yeah,
you see this in movies where it's like, oh, this person, you're the 58th in command, like now you're the president. How far down do we have to go that this Penguin officially runs Norway? That's my
What
question.
I kind of want to say, Dan, is I don't care how far we have to go. Let's just get there. Let's look like everyone band together.
The real question is, how do we know he doesn't already run it? I mean, he's getting promoted. Who the hell made that decision? Only a Penguin would.
Yeah.
Well, he's sporting that tuck, huh?
Okay. Well, now we know what we need to do. I'm not saying let's make a king a penguin or a penguin a king, but if it happens, I think there's a lot of people who, yeah.
Their imports of fish go up. It would be really interesting. The difference.
Yeah, the way their economy would metamorphosize would be pretty interesting, I guess.
They stop all their oil mining, the country is going to go bankrupt, man. The Penguin doesn't want oil. Okay.
Okay. I'm glad we don't have a meme episode right now. That's good.
No. Yeah, that's really good. All right. This week in StarCraft. This is already my favorite episode ever, by the way. I'm having a great time. All right.
Get your shit together, Dan.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Tasteless can't touch this. I'm just saying. No matter how many times he tries to bring up the Pylon Show so he can plug his show on GSL, can't touch this.
My God. Okay, here we go.
This ball's not here.
Hi, AlexGarfield. Thanks so much.
Yeah, could you say
everyone
goodbye
that brought me here, and everyone's great. I'm tired. Thank you. That's my take. Cut.
I hope you guys enjoy the show. We'll see you next time, I guess, for WCS. Maybe in the live venue.
Okay, we have to do the missing people, and iNcontroL is going to do the impressions. So first of all, Red Eye's missing.
Please, Red Eye, right away.
Red Eye's missing. Cloris is missing. Frodan is missing. So hit those home.
A Frodan impression would be super racist.
Right. I am so thankful that I was able to do this event. I literally couldn't contain myself. Thank you for having me. And,
you have to do Coloris now.
Right. Hello. It was a great event.
Oh my god. That was really good. But Frodan needs to say goodbye.
Guys, thank you so much.
From all of us here in Poland, thank you for having us. It was a great event.
That was really good. Yeah.
Oh my God.
My analogy for the and I always picture like a kind of like a Mormon door-to-door person, and they're like iNcontroL. I noticed that those 16 Marines, when they were dropped inside your main, they killed all your probes. It didn't feel like you noticed it. Is there anything you could do differently to perhaps not take that kind of damage? And I look at him, and I'm trying to be like, is this real? Like, is that person typing this out? And they're like, 1 second, honey. I'm asking Mr. iNcontroL a question, and gee willikers, I really want to know the answer. Because every time, I don't have a nice answer for the guy. I'm not like, well, gosh, man, if only I would have noticed it, I probably would have tried to pull my probes to respond. But instead, I'm like, what the are you that fucking guy in person where someone's like, oh, hey, Billy, and they like walk in a room and stub their toe on a chair, and then you're like, hey, dude, you should probably not kick hard objects with your bare foot. I'm like, and I'm on a bit of a crusade. I have been for my entire life online. We post things on the Pylon Show on Twitter. We tweet it out. We do make some threads, but mostly it's the Twitter. There's this Discord. It's over here on my other monitor, but it could be on your monitor too. You join it. It's free. You can talk about the show. If you're enjoying the show, please do this, because right now, if I'm like watching Roddy stream and someone's like, "Hey, Geoff, there you are." When is the next episode of The Pylon? Where can I watch it? What time does it start? Is there a Discord? If there was a Discord, how do I join it? Discord, what is that? How do I get it in? Seagate01 says, Artosis, next year when Oatmeal becomes self-aware, do you think it will immediately realize its name is just Oats combined with meal? Combined with meal. If so, do you think it might affect its performance at the Breakfast All-Stars 2019?
What are these questions? Next year when Oatmeal becomes self-aware.
Do you think it will immediately...
Is this like a pet or just the food oatmeal?
The food oatmeal.
Oh, okay.
It's just oat and meal put together. That is a lazy name. That's a lazy name for oatmeal. Whoever thought of that.
You know what? It is what it is, though. So, do you think it'll realize that when it first becomes self-aware?
You know what? If it's going to become self-aware, it will eventually realize that. Here's the thing, though. It says, if so, do you think it might affect its performance at the Breakfast All-Stars 2019? I don't think that Oatmeal is going to make it to the Breakfast All-Stars next year.
Fair enough.
Because it's a pretty trash
Oh,
breakfast.
jeez.
Yeah.
Well, when it does become self-aware, you're going to have a lot to answer for. The sentient food questions, guys, I really appreciate them. But please save it for when Rotterdam's on the show, because that's a meme that I would love to cultivate.
He actually asked about it last time. He's like, I hope there's no questions about if a hot dog would eat itself. That was so good. My analogy for the and I always picture like a kind of like a Mormon door-to-door person, and they're like in control. I noticed that those 16 Marines when they were dropped
from
go ahead, Dan.
From OnRack.
Yeah.
If you were a hot dog and you were starving, would you eat yourself?
Dan?
Hey guys, the priority questions. You can ask whatever you want and we'll answer it. Roddy, if you were a hot dog and you were starving, would you eat yourself?
Yes, I mean, why would I want to be starving? Fuck yeah.
I think I'm laughing
Geoff
at a robot.
Yeah, you're. This is a weird frozen laugh from Geoff.
I'm okay with it.
So, I'm a little bit confused about the eating yourself here, because if you start to starve, your body starts to break down its own, muscles and fats and all this. So, wouldn't that be more efficient than chewing yourself up? First off, you cut yourself, you start to bleed, right? You have all this hot dog.
You're a
blood coming
hot dog. How do you bleed if you're a hot dog?
Well, you're still a person too, Roddy.
No,
I mean,
no, you're
why
just
you're
a hot
dog. You're a hot dog.
No, you're an actual hot dog.
Well, do you have a digestive tract then? How does this work?
No, you just eat yourself till you're dead. That's where it ends.
Well, I'm going to assume that this guy means you still have a digestive tract. You're still also a human. I feel like
no, you're an actual
it would
hot dog.
be more efficient to just let your body eat itself from the inside like it normally does when you're starving.
Well, then I didn't understand the question correctly. I thought I was a literal hot dog.
And you said you'd eat yourself because you wouldn't want to starve. But if you're a hot dog, you're not very sentient, are you? You're actually a dead piece of meat in between some bread.
But I would enjoy the hell out of it.
The only thing I know for certain, if Roddy was a hot dog, he would put mayonnaise on himself before.
No. No, I love mayo, but not with hot dogs. No, hot dogs is a mustard and ketchup type of thing.
Okay.
What a great question that was. It was a hidden gem.
It turned out to be good.
Well played, Jim.
All right. You actually learn more if you get smashed in a game than if you have a close game, even though close games we'd find to be more fun. So, I mean, it can be a good learning aspect if you can kind of withdraw yourself from that.
I've been watching your stream, Dan.
Oh, no, I know. I'm a salty, angry
I
player.
thought you were going to get up
Geoff.
on a horse that does not exist for a second there.
No, but at the same time, if Rain wants to smurf me on Brood War and kill me,
you'll learn a lot.
I'll get angry, but I'll definitely learn the early holes in my build order, Geoff.
I feel like that's not the response we'd get. I don't. Let me give you a couple of my favorite lines from the last Artosis stream that I watched. You can be so fucking bad and still win with Protoss, he says.
Does anyone disagree with me on this?
The game, by the way, was a 0 scout Artosis who got 4 DTs dropped on his 1.5 tanks that he had while he was taking his third. I'm sitting there in the chat and I'm just like, this is it. This is what I'm here for. There's like a wind tunnel of just feel good. Like, if you're not doing these clicks, you're more likely doing more clicks elsewhere. It's not. I know that people have this weird thoughts about Protoss that we play with the game, like with our feet up on the table and we're just kind of like smoking a cigar with 2 hands and just be like, well, my gateways are tending to warp gates. Everything's fine. Usually, we're taking an Oracle and we're braving the goddamn map to survive. This thing needs to find out every tech path, every expansion, and where that fucking army is. Because if we lose track of it, it shows up at our base, and guess what? Unless we have 300 shield batteries, we're fucking dead! We don't survive that engagement, do you understand? We have to see everything coming 10 minutes in advance and have more static defense than the most locked-in Terran single-player map number 4 you've ever seen in your goddamn life. So if we're not clicking on our warp gates, we're holding our crucifixes to our chest and praying that the Oracle can survive long enough to find out. Okay?
Look,
I'm gonna write you a sad poem, dude.
I actually
I feel like we're having like a quiet, nice dinner. We're all wearing kind of nice clothes, you know, steak dinner or something like that. We're all talking, shooting the shit, and then Jake kind of leans in. He's like, "Yeah, I absolutely agree." And also, it's kind of why I've changed my diet into baby slushies. So what I do is I kind of grind up a bunch of babies, and I just start to. You can kind of consume their overall organic matter. It just kind of keeps you youthful and feeling good. And I'm like losing it because I'm like, I can't believe you just said that. Dan's kind of nodding his head quietly, and BCQ he's like, yeah, absolutely. We've been having baby slushies in Serbia for years now, and I kind of understand where you're going with that. And then the conversation just meandered away from
pull people in.
What?
Because I want to argue with all this chat, all these people in chat.
Zerg can
Just pull them in.
attack. First of all,
pull them in.
At best, your argument could be made somewhat relevant if we're only talking about the current meta. Over the course of 10 years of Zerg, I've had the weirdest. Not even. Let's get away from me as the example. I've seen Zergs attack in so many stupid, idiotic, and fucking crazy ways and have wildly successful careers. I'm talking about Hyun, Violet. There's a guy named True who has no business qualifying for every GSL ever, but all he does is attack forever. The idea that you'd sit there and say that you can only defend while True can't get his bank account above $100 because he's got a degenerative gambling problem, but at the same time he applies that logic to StarCraft and crushes nerds who put in 20 times more practice and try to play a better game of StarCraft but can't because he's like, oh, it looks like it's a Ling run by for this game, folks. Here we go. We just had a Zerg at WCS literally talk about his strategy in the chat because he's such a fucking anonymous weird guy that he just did some random fucking attack and beat the American champion 2-0. He fucking destroyed the best Protoss we've ever had in America. And meanwhile, I asked Jake to come on the show because I'm like, this is a pretty smart guy, and he's not truly just a Diglett. He comes in and he goes, Zerg can't attack. They ever attack their siege tanks at Storm. And I'm like, get him out of here. Red Gunner Guy. Abyssal Reef is considered by some to be the best map ever. Do you think this is true? And why was the map considered so good? Is it the best map ever?
I disagree. Best map ever.
For when it existed, I think it was the best map, and it went through. Yeah, no, I think it was the best map for the playtime that it was out. It gave really great games. Thing is, eventually the games devolved into turtling on like 4 to 5 bases and just mass air. So eventually it became bad by the end. But for the beginning and middle of Abyssal Reef's lifetime, I think it was the best map. Like the base layouts were very interesting. You could expand in different directions. There was a lot of different styles of plays. It was, I think, for a period, it was the best map.
Do you know what's happening, by the way? I finally diagnosed this. It's bothered me for a while. Dan has commentated with Tasteless for like 20 years. So a really bad question will get asked, and Dan's brain, the way it processes, is he'll break it down into a decent question. The guy's asking if it's the best map ever. Obviously, the answer's no. That's a fucking stupid question. But Dan's like, hang on, let me chuck a life raft out here. And is it the best map? He's like, he doesn't even say no. He just says, for the time that it was out, amongst the other maps that people were playing at that time, I think you could consider it maybe the best map at that time for like the 3 weeks or a month that it's like, what the fuck are you, like, that's what sitting next to Nick does to you for 20 years, where he's like, hey Dan, I ate a cheese quesadilla and it dripped on my dick and I don't even know what to do about it. And Dan will be like, dripping is actually something that can happen when you're not paying attention. And in StarCraft, if you're focusing on the minimap too much, you'll get drippage and miss out on the action happening on the screen. Dan, that's a great point. Have you checked out my podcast? I'm interviewing a guy who played fighting games in Korea and has 134 Twitter followers this next week. You should check it out. And we're like, what the fuck is happening? You're amazing. You're a gem. I want you to know that. You're a special human being. Red Gunner Guy, Dan saved you. God. All right, Skogler asks,
So I wanted to share a perspective of Geoff that I think a lot of people have but don't
get the chance to express. And for me, that's the feeling that I've had a friend for 10 years when, if it weren't for me being on the show a month or two ago, Geoff would have never met me at all or have ever known my name. I still don't think he does, but he does know my BattleNet ID. So 2 degrees of separation isn't bad. And what I mean by that sense of friendship is that when I first got into StarCraft and heard of Geoff almost 10 years ago, what made him stand out to me from other players and commentators was how he made me think, damn, this guy plays StarCraft and is actually cool? I didn't think that was possible. And I don't think I even fully understood at the time, but as an early teenager who wore sweatpants and Skechers every day, you kind of imprint onto cool people like that because you want to steal their powers, essentially. And what I do know for sure was that what I admired in Geoff wasn't anything superhuman. It was more of an overwhelming sense of self-assuredness that I had none of. I saw a guy who loved video games, board games, figurines, and fantasy. And if anyone anywhere asked him who he was and what he loved, he would say just that and be proud of it. And if someone were for some reason to say, haha, those things are for nerds, he would say, well, I guess that makes me a nerd. And then he'd bench press their entire family through the ceiling. As a peer now, what I see in Geoff's legacy that will never be taken away is excellence. The guy was fucking good, not just as a caster, a character, a parting impersonator, a host, and as a stage presence, but as a person. And I feel Geoff is a guy who often didn't get as much praise as he deserved because a lot of us thought it was self-evident. In contrast, one thing that really struck me as a standout characteristic in Geoff is that when someone really made an effort to articulate something precisely or got something really right, he wouldn't just say, yeah, I agree, and absorb the idea as if it was his the whole time. He'd always praise the person genuinely by saying, that's a really good way of putting it, and express his own humility by saying something like, I hadn't thought about it that way before. Which is a very hard thing to say. And while it seems small, I think that in a larger sense, that authenticity and truth is what made him so captivating and successful. And while it's the same thing that sometimes got him into trouble, to me, it's the overarching characteristic that I admire the most. And all I can say is that I hope it served him well, because I know what he passed on to me affected my life positively, whether he'd have ever met me or not.
Okay, so a funny story I have about Geoff is probably every single StarCraft 2 event that I have had to attend on behalf of Blizzard. You know, early in the WCS years, I was leading the StarCraft 2 esports team, and you know, I would come to make sure the events are going well and to be there to represent Blizzard. And every single time, Geoff would say the most inappropriate yet very hilarious things, you know. And as a Blizzard representative, I mean, I shouldn't be okay with the things that he's saying, but I couldn't help it. I would laugh every time. I mean, Geoff would crack me up so much, you know, and a part of me just would want him to keep going, and the other part of me is like, oh no, Geoff, that's probably treading the line of not appropriate. So oftentimes I would have to pull Geoff aside, you know, and give him that talk and give him that speech about, you know, something that he said probably wasn't a good idea. But deep down inside, I loved it. Like, I thought he was edgy. I thought he was funny. I thought he was just great. But, you know, from a Blizzard perspective, maybe not always appropriate. Okay. How did Geoff impact me personally? I don't know that many people know this about Geoff, but he really, I think, was the best curator of pet videos. He would share them often on Facebook, and you know, we never interacted a lot on Facebook in terms of, you know, messaging each other, but I always looked forward to the videos that he would share because he would find the best ones. And there are days where I would have really bad days, and those videos would always cheer me up. And I just always associated any funny pet video to him, because he just had a way of just bringing laughter and joy to your life, even without talking to you. So that's something that I already miss very much. then 3 words that represent Geoff. Wow, 3 words is really hard, but the first comes to mind is funny. I think everyone will say funny, passionate, and caring. Geoff was actually very, very caring. And then something that people may not know about Geoff. I think a lot of people may know about Geoff, may know this about Geoff, but Geoff loved Disneyland, and you know, he would go often with Anna. And one year after BlizzCon, Mike Morheim and Amy invited us to join them the day after to go to Disneyland, and they were asking me like, hey, who else should we invite? You know, and I remember thinking, Geoff and Anna, they absolutely love Disneyland. And you know, Amy was like, you are right, that's perfect, and she did. And the next day we went as a group and had the best time. I think that was one of my most memorable times at Disneyland, where we spent the day together, and I really got to see this softer, more caring side of Geoff that most people don't get to see when he's on stream or when he's broadcasting.
Hey guys, my name is Alex. I ran EG for a long time and got to know Geoff rather well. I'd be there in person if it weren't for some health issues I'm having, so thanks for letting me contribute in this way. You know, I think the first thing I think of when I think of Geoff is actually the arguments we used to get into when we didn't agree on something, because you can imagine all that fiery wit and intellect that shines so brightly in those videos channeled into the inner debater in him. It was a bit of a nightmare to go up against, but we would always resolve it. And I think that's, to me, what made Geoff so special was his fire and his passion. He was courageous and unflappable and lion-hearted. And when he did agree with something and that it was right and it was the right thing to do, he would shout it from the rooftops. You know, with a level of courage and strength I had not really seen before in our industry or in my career. You know, in EG, I was a relatively silent CEO and I didn't speak publicly very much. And oftentimes we would rely on Geoff to kind of be our messenger to the world. And in that sense, he was my voice. And it was so important that we got on the same page, and we did. And so I will just be always forever grateful to him for doing that. And I can't believe he's gone. I can't believe it. So, Geoff, wherever you are, I know that you're listening. Thank you so much. For everything you've done for me and everyone who was involved in EG. We owe you a huge depth of gratitude. And I will continue to work forward in my career, or go forward in my career to put into place, I think, the values that you and I and everyone involved in Evil Geniuses and Good Game always agreed were necessary and important. So thank you guys for letting me share all that.
Hi, my name is Joey, also known as NiceUsername, and I got a few words I want to say about Geoff. First, just a funny story. I did an interview with him just for like an hour, and he was nice enough to give me that time for a series I was doing. I didn't do that good of a job. I was kind of nervous, and I stumbled a lot on my questions, and it was just all over the place. Later, I was watching The Pylon Show, and Neuro was on, and he was talking about how he had such a good time doing an interview with me. Neuro did. And I'm watching Geoff, and he's just sitting there, you know, kind of like this, almost physically holding himself back. You know, he has his hand over his mouth. Not like that, but, you know, just sitting there, and I was laughing so hard, dude. I was laughing my ass off because I knew he's thinking, that sucked. But here Nero is on the show singing my praises. It was very funny to me. Probably went over a lot of people's heads, so I thought that was pretty good. Geoff was a enormous inspiration for me. Just through his work, you know, being so successful in gaming and having a career playing games. But not just any game, he's playing my favorite game. He's playing StarCraft, and StarCraft is hugely important to me. Geoff is hugely important to StarCraft. So I think it was only natural that I got inspired by him and really looked up to him just so much in terms of just, you know, going out there and doing what you want and really believing in it. It sounds cheesy, maybe it is, but you know, some powerful stuff, and I think I wouldn't have got that without him. 3 words that represent Geoff to me. Funny. Geoff was so funny. He was more than funny. He was hilarious. Inspiring. I already spoke on this, but Geoff was very inspiring. Not just to me, but to many other people, I'm sure of it. And Geoff was proud. He was not afraid to speak up. Everyone knows that. Something about Geoff people don't know, or a funny fact. I think it's really hard to say this. People have really went and found so much out about Geoff that I would never know. But what I wanted to highlight is that some people might not remember is he was a player first. Geoff wanted to win, and he wanted to compete, and before he ever was in front of the camera and casting, he just wanted to win, and he just liked the game. Just like me and you. You're probably watching this because you played the game first. And I just think, you know, it's really important, and it's kind of special how much this game has brought us all together and brought people together. So it's not something you probably didn't know, but I just think it's important to highlight, you know, Geoff was a player, and we're all players. All right, that's it. Thank you, Cobra, for putting this together, and all the staff on the Pylon Show. Goddamn, I will miss him. See you.
Geoff was always someone I looked up to in the StarCraft community. His presence and energy were unmatched. He made every event an absolute treat to be at. When we would match on the StarCraft 2 ladder, I was always so nervous. But he was always there to make a joke or two and make everybody laugh. I wish we could have made more memories together, and it saddens me deeply that you were taken away from us so soon. Geoff has shown me that it's possible to chase your dreams and live every day to the absolute fullest. 3 words I would use to describe Geoff: humble, brave, and hilarious. And Taro in control.
Hello everyone, trying to record a video to talk about Geoff a little bit. Geoff was one of the best person, just a good individual human that I've ever met. I think he had some outstanding ethics, and I think for somebody as big as he was, and that could be that intimidating, I've never seen somebody be so actually kind and never really threatening of anybody. He definitely changed me and made me a better person that would aspire to have some of his qualities, even though I'm very, very far from it. He always dealt with adversity really well, with, I think, hate online really well. Maybe sometimes replied a little too much to it, but I definitely think he didn't let it darken his view on the world. He always stayed optimistic, and he really loved life, whether it was through all the games that he liked, all the people that he cherished, whether it was family or friends at events, or even the foods. He loved food much like me, so at a lot of events we would go to grab food together, and I know he was enthusiastic, as enthusiastic as I was about it. Whether it was in Poland where we went to get pierogies, or every time we were at Home Story Cup in Krefeld, which is not exactly known for its good foods. It's a lot of kebabs. So we would go to Vapiano and grab pasta. He loved pasta. So he definitely, I think, made me a better person in that whenever I was out of line with anything, he always knew to handle it well, whether it was making fun of me about it, but not in a way where I would get really upset. Or sometimes even his silence was enough. Sometimes just a look, just a chuckle. He kind of knew how to, not exactly, I would say, put me in my place, but make me realize that in the grand scheme of things, this wasn't so important, and I shouldn't mind so much how that thing is happening or going. So I've had to record a lot of videos before finally getting to this one. It's been really difficult, but I hope this does a good job conveying how I feel about Geoff. Yeah, he will be dearly missed, and I hope that he leaves a legacy behind where a lot of people will remember how much he made everybody laugh and how he affected the gaming world and the world in general in a very, very positive way. And he'll always be in my heart. Rest in peace, Geoff.
Geoff had the ability to make anybody laugh, and it would make you laugh so hard that you would lose control of bodily functions. For me specifically, it was crying. There was countless occasions where iNcontroL or Geoff has told a story about something, you know, it could be something current, it could be a fact about somebody, it could be a fact about something, and he would just tell a story about it in a way where sometimes the story would get so ridiculous or so gross, or just, it would actually be like, sometimes he would just make facts about it, and it would actually make you be like, oh wow, I never thought about it like that, but that's actually really true. And the stories would always just progressively get more hilarious as they went on. And for me, iNcontroL is actually one of the few people in the community that I've ever met that has made me cry laughing multiple times because of how just hilarious the guy is. I feel like he was someone I admired as well, because I feel like one of the best ways to describe him was he was somebody who was not afraid to be exactly who he was. He never really cared about what other people thought about him. And to be fair, I really don't think he should have, because when I would look at iNcontroL, I would always look at him and go, oh, wow, that guy is one of the smartest guys in the room. Like, he knew how to turn every single topic into comedy, and he would always connect the dots in a way where it's just like, you know, you could tell he was incredibly smart, and he just knew how to like engage with people and make people enjoy themselves around him. I feel like he was just hilarious. He was blunt. He wasn't afraid to say things that might offend somebody, or, you know, sometimes he'll make jokes and he'll be like, it won't be received to where the other person's laughing, and he might just do that like cringy, like, ooh. But I always thought he was hilarious. I've always embraced every bit of comedy he's ever thrown at anybody. I've always thought it's been just incredibly funny. And I feel like another way to describe him was he was a leader, because he was always involved in so many things, and he was like an entrepreneur of so many things as well, because he was always involved in things with one of the first stages of people who were in it. He was always like pioneering the way for everyone else. And yeah, this for me, like, that's something I kind of brought to myself as well with my stream, was he was one of the people I had in mind where I thought about like my, you know, how I wanted to be on my stream, and, you know, how I could make my stream good for myself. And he was definitely a big influence for me too, about just being who you are and not actually caring about what people think. Because that's like the best way you can be genuinely happy. So I feel like I really admired him. I admired him for that. And the most surprising thing I've ever had him tell me was he did this very trolly laugh and said, I know Protoss really is OP. And for the longest time I didn't think that was true, but I guess it was. And Taro iNcontroL.
Hello, everybody. This is Bryce Machine Bates, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about Geoff Robinson, who he was, and who he meant to me. Geoff and I first met online probably around, I want to say 2006. At the time, I was kind of a nobody, up-and-coming Zerg player from California trying to make it through, WCG open qualifiers and regionals, and try to, just build up my my list of practice partners at the time. Meanwhile, Geoff had already, he was in control. He was the, one of the head horsemen to kind of beat. Captain of USA A team at the time. I believe I was maybe on the B team before I really started kind of interacting with him and, getting to know him, hanging out in the same chat channels as him. And I met him through, one of our close friends, Eric Rothmuller, aka G5. At the time, I was, like I said, just kind of a up-and-coming nobody, Zerg player, pretty decent, but was trying to really kind of get in there and, work out some kinks in my game. Met Geoff and started playing, just some random practice games with the guy. And I noticed right away he was just hella funny. I mean, just the funniest guy. I still think some of our favorite times of the old media crew, Artosis, Tasteless, Nyokin, Geoff, obviously, we're really just kind of hanging out in Ventrilo and practicing day in and day out while Geoff did his silly impersonations that, I can't really repeat at the moment. But, I mean, the guy knew how to make people laugh, and he knew how to do it. And I mean, he's just always has been there just trying to make people smile, trying to make people laugh, trying to make people happy. He's always just kind of had the personality for sure. It made sense when he started doing his commentating because, and that's honestly why he stood out as of the whole group, man. Geoff had the best personality. He could get along with anybody. He could talk shop about anything. Brilliant, English major. He knew his way. He knew how to, argue pretty well. It was never fun getting into a disagreement with Geoff because you were never going to win. But, I mean, I just remember busting up for hours. All of us just, crying to tears at a lot of the stuff he used to say. Yeah. If, one funny story that, or not funny, but a good story that a lot of people might not know was back in about 2007. I, had been practicing finally with Geoff for a little while, started kind of making a name for myself, and I showed up to the WCG 2007 Invitational along with iNcontroL. There was 4 of us there, but at that time I was kind of considered maybe one of the more favorites, especially ZVZ, and I hit Geoff first round. I knew it was going to be a pretty tough match, but I thought I could take him, and we met, and he just crushed me 2-0. He has always been just such a cerebral player, could kind of read through my builds, and he knew what I was doing probably more than I knew what I was doing, what I was going to open with at the time. Beat me 2-0, and I was just devastated. And I remember he gets up afterwards, gives me a big hug, and says, "Hey man, let's go outside, let's talk some things." And really kind of lifted up my spirits, made me think, I come back and do something. And I ended up facing Louder, who ended up winning the WCG Invitational at the time. And he said, "You know what, man, keep your head up. You're playing Louder, David next at the time. Help me, work through a couple builds I could possibly be using, and I went on to defeat Louder and, at least make some semblance of a comeback for the Invitational. So, I mean, that's just one instance. Living with the guy, knowing him, he's always kind of just been a bigger brother figure to me, being a couple years older than me. Guys helped me with everything from, writing to speeches to, tips for my first date. I mean, we're talking everything. And he was someone who was always there. You could always come to him with, a problem or a question. Sure, he might give you a little bit of shit for it, but at the end of the day, he always wanted to see you happy and healthy and doing well. If I had to think of 3 things that I'd use to represent Geoff, number 1 have to be just funny. He's just hilarious. He could walk into any room and be the funniest guy, no matter what. He was always putting smiles on faces. Number 2, he was a leader. There's a reason why he led, Team USAA back in the day. There's a reason why he was the captain of Evil Geniuses. He was just someone who knew how to take charge, someone who could, someone you could look up to, someone you'd respect. And, he was just always there for you. Third thing I'd have to say, and this goes, under the radar sometimes, is he's a competitor, a true competitor. Geoff was there to scrap. Geoff was there to fight. You never had an easy match. He was never going to just give it to you. He was underestimated by me, by others, countless times. But at the end of the day, he walked away with number 1 in the USA for WCG for a reason. There's a reason why he placed so highly at MLG events for so many years and continue to just be underestimated. Geoff was a fighter. He really was. Not just in StarCraft, but in life. A lot of people don't know this, but Geoff was actually going for the Washington State bench press record back in the day while he was still competing in Brood War. I mean, just a big physical, specimen. He was superhuman. It's really kind of how I, felt about him. He's just been an incredible man. Someone who has deeply, deeply impacted my life for the better. And I, like so many others, I'm truly going to miss him.
Geoff to me was nothing short of a role model, a hero, and an utter legend. The fact that someone that had accomplished so much in his life in such a short period of time, all he had done for esports, for StarCraft, and for just us over on Twitch that were in his chat utopia, was absolutely incredible. The fact that he engaged us almost on an individual basis, and then literally on an individual basis when he started playing Apex and when we were able to play games together, that was one of the highlights of my life. That month, anytime anyone asked me, hey, what have you been up to in the time that we haven't seen each other, I would always get to brag about how awesome it was that I could play games with this tremendous human being. I'm always going to look back on those times and just be profoundly happy that, unlike so many other people who have made heroes of people and we'll be able to watch them from afar, I actually got to interact with him, to have him know who I was. That was just incredible, and I'll forever cherish that.
Hi Pylon Show, this is Kathy, aka ZergGirrl, and I was a previous guest on the Pylon Show last year when I was helping to promote co-op for StarCraft 2. I just was invited to share some words about Geoff in memoriam during this stream. I was just so shocked to hear of his passing. He was just an amazing person. I was talking about this recently because he was starting to do stuff for Warhammer. He was still doing a bunch of stuff for StarCraft. He was an amazing player, streamer, caster. He did everything, honestly. He was an inspiration and a role model for so many people with this incredible work ethic, and he was just a legend for this game. He did so much for the community. So when I hear other people saying that he was a pillar for this scene, I agree with that wholeheartedly. He did so much for our game, and he was just so beloved by many. I hear all these stories online about how he took the time out of his busy schedule to talk to the person, to actually get to know them. And he was just so kind and so amazing for StarCraft. I keep saying it over and over again. He was just great. And we thank you for everything that you've done for this scene, and that you've done for StarCraft, and we'll remember you forever. We love you so much, Geoff.
I was a fan of Geoff's for a long time before I really got to meet him, getting his signature, half dozen times throughout the years. But the first time that I think he really started to know Zombie Grub, and I finally got to talk to him, was kind of this infamous DreamHack Austin, the first one many years ago, where a perfect whirlwind of events led to a admittedly very drunken night that apparently got back to the casters. So when we went up to the desk to get to do the guest cast, Geoff, who was still just sitting down next to the desk looking at his phone, without ever looking up to me or saying hi or anything like that, was just like, "So Zombie Grub, you feeling all right to do this cast?" And when I was kind of like a little shocked, and I was like, "Oh no, it was like, the night before," or something like that. He just kind of like did his Geoff laugh. I don't know if you guys can imagine it. But that was the first, I guess, experience that I had with him that I felt like it was more than just like a fan experience. And the second time that I really got to know him was when I got to work with him in Montreal. And I remember, kind of being prepped beforehand by some of the crew that, he's going to poke fun, he's going to do his thing. And I was totally prepared to handle it. I was actually even, willing to rise to the challenge. So I was totally prepared. And after the first cast that I did, so my first cast ever for WCS, I was fortunate enough to do it with Maynarde, I believe. So I was, I really tried to show my best. But I was, of course, still nervous. I came back from the commentary desk, and he was once again on his phone without even really looking up in the couch in the green room. And he just said, "Zombie Grub, not your best." And, a little shocked that that's the thing that he started off with, but still ready to accept the challenge. I responded with, "Oh man, Geoff, that really means a lot to me. I really want to make you proud. It's my first event, so I'm really sorry. I'll do better." And he kind of like did the raised eyebrows thing as he like contemplated, and he was like, "Well, damn, now I feel like an asshole." Gosh, it evolved from just being a fan to being kind of the newbie of the crew and getting the rightful teasing that Geoff always is going to dole out to basically anyone, into actually getting to know him on a personal level, getting to hang out with him, especially come 2019, where he was very open to talk about a lot of things that he went through. But when I was going through really tough times last year, he was often the first to like take a serious sit-down conversation and talk about his own experience with, any bad times in his life. And he also had to deal with sciatica for a long time. And it just, the Geoff that you see on the desk is just so different than the person that you get to hang out with and be friends with behind the scenes. He was so calm and rational, yet in certain subjects passionate, and he was very empathetic. He went through his own tough stuff and knew what to say, and then he would bring his sense of realistic optimism, like he would tell you things would be okay, or that, you're going to get this thing, or it's going to improve. And you would believe him because he had that larger than life personality, and he just really seemed to know what he was talking about. So, and for me, I don't know if he did this with everyone, maybe he did, but he would always just say like, you know, like, oh, did you get invited to that thing yet? And I'd say, no, like, I don't think I'm going to get it. And, you know, he would say, you know, you're going to get it. Don't worry about it. And if I didn't, he would shake his head and go like, well, you should have gotten it. And to have someone like him with just a few simple words seem so invested in your personal success. I mean, there's just no better backing, you know? Like, if everyone else said that I sucked, then at least Geoff InControl Robinson said that I was good and that I should have gotten this thing, or that, you know, everything is going to be okay, because it just will be. It was, you know, actually one of the things he said. You know, he'd ask me, oh, is your sciatica better yet? And I'd say, no, you know, I'm still dealing with it. And he'd be like, well, it's just not going to make it a year. And he just sounded so confident in it. It was almost amusing, and it was almost, you can almost get angry at him for being so confident and then it not getting better, or you're not getting the job. But of course, you couldn't really say actually mad at the guy. Geoff was absolutely one of the best people I've ever met. He was compassionate, funny, intelligent, and emotionally intelligent, and just always seemed to be in such control of his situation. And I hope that I can live up to what he set as an example. Thank you for everything, Geoff.
Hi guys. So I'm just going to share my quintessential Geoff memory, which is actually the first time I got to properly spend time with Geoff. We'd seen each other at events before, we'd never really spoken at all. And it was WCS 2015 in Toronto. And I got to work an event with Geoff. Of course, the first day of work for a caster involves esports rehearsal. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, that's sitting in a room, usually a green room, or at a desk, or at a casting desk, or an analyst desk, somewhere between 2 and 8 hours with nothing to do at all, while production issues get sorted, as they have to at these live events, which are set up in a flurry of activity. So I thought I was going in for another 6 hours of sitting there, twiddling my thumbs, slowly losing my mind. I remember standing there at the analysis desk. They said, yeah, we'll be ready soon. Get up on there. They got me, and up there was someone else with us. And I remember Geoff, of course, on the desk. Because I started looking through my Twitter feed, trying to zone out so I could get through this absolutely boring ordeal of a day, when I heard... It was more comedic than that. It was a much better fart noise. Geoff was the master of fart noises. I can't hope to imitate his fart noises. But of course, we had the audio on, so it's booming around this whole arena out of his microphone. And yeah, I was instantly snorting in laughter. And I remember Geoff glancing up and realizing that such a simple thing had gotten such a reaction. And despite that, there was a glimmer in his eye, and he instantly turned it up a notch. And he started just making fun of everything, everybody, anything out of place, anyone that would do anything weird. You know, Geoff would see patterns, and he'd see things that were a bit odd, and he'd recognize people that acted a little bit odd, and he would just make it into the most hilarious tangents and stories. And basically, I remember being on this desk for at least half an hour, maybe an hour with Geoff, and just laughing until my ribs I thought they were going to crack. I had tears running all the way down my face. And I remember like I hadn't laughed that hard in years. And Geoff, all he needed was a one-man audience of just this silly, young, inexperienced Australian caster who was so shocked by the levels of silliness and a lot of the inappropriate and hilarious things that he would say, that he just kept going. And you could tell he was just feeding off that energy. And he loved the ability to bring that sort of joy to people. And he was relentless about it. And, you know, I'm just honored that years later, Geoff is also, you know, like I said, he hones in on people's weird habits and things. I'm just honored that he did the same with me. He recognized that I like to make a lot of dirty jokes, and that I can find so many dozens of clips of him impersonating me, making me sound like I'm someone who should definitely be locked up in prison. Because he would always dial it up to 500%. But what was so great about it, what made everything he said so funny, is there was always a nugget of truth in everything he said, right? It wasn't just cheap humor always, as much as he'd go for a fart joke or anything else. It was his ability to see something about a person and turn it into this absolutely hilarious story and kind of portray a caricature of the person, or to kind of make it very comical. And and it was always this awesome kind of experience when he did that with you, because it would be a little uncomfortable, because he would hone in on something rather personal or weird that you do, something that's a bit different about you, and he'd make fun of you for it. But what was great about it is you realize very quickly that it was just an amazing brand of comedy, and it was always so funny, even when he was making fun of you, because there was so much truth in it, and you'd realize that he was really just kind of exaggerating who you were as a person when he was making a dig at you, and it was all for the joy and the laughter, and it was something where it just reminded you to stay humble and and to not take yourself too seriously. And he absolutely had that same mentality with himself as well. You know, someone who was so successful at so many things. I'll never forget the advice he gave me when I was asking him, you know, how do you make so many good jokes? And he just said, you just need to not be afraid of looking like an idiot. And that he wasn't afraid, and that he regularly made lots of jokes that failed. And it's funny because I'd never remembered them, and I'd never noticed those jokes that much until after he mentioned this to me. And then I'd notice he would make some really silly, dumb, bad jokes sometimes. But I'd never remember them because there were so many winners in between. And it was just his ability to take that attitude and apply it to everything, which I thought was really inspiring. It was like, no, we're going to fail at some things, and then I'm going to get better at it, and I'm not going to miss out on opportunities because I'm too afraid to fail. And that's what I learned from Geoff. It's something I'm going to take with me forever. As well as, of course, the thousands and thousands of laughs, and the hours where I felt like my ribs were going to crack, and until I've cried from laughter until my eyes were drying up. You know, there's just such an incredible set of memories there, and I'm so honored to have been a part of such an awesome person's life.
Whenever I talk about Geoff, I still find myself talking about him in the present tense. He was such a big personality, and he was so funny, and he had such a huge impact on so many different people that I think he's not gone for any of us. And there's some comfort in that. When I first became friends with Geoff, I think the thing that I was most blown away by was his humility and his honesty, his emotional honesty. A lot of people, I feel like, put on airs and stuff, and he wasn't like that. If you were good in his books, he let you know it. And I'll still remember the first time he hit me up to do a podcast together. He was just like, hey, you're cool, and I would like to talk to you more, and I think we should do this cool thing together. And I just remember thinking, after reading that, how much that was missing. How much I feel like we try to hold back on those types of things, or how much we feel embarrassed, you know, to say something like that. And I remember reading that and thinking, I want to be more like him. And I still do. Geoff was funny. I think we all know that. But what I think really stood out the most to me was, in addition to being funny, and because he really was a hilarious dude, he was able to switch gears from that into really serious topics seamlessly. He talked about a lot of things that I think people shy away from talking about in content creation. He talked about things like depression and mental health and motivation, and he took his platform really seriously. And I think he understood the impact that social media could have on people's lives, and he tried to make something good of that. And for that, I think he really is just the greatest of all time. I think his effort to destigmatize talking about negative topics was something that I still am going to take to heart and continue on in my own life. And I think all of us has a story or something like that about Geoff, in a way that he each gave each of us something to carry on. I miss you already. And there's not a day goes by that we won't think about you. And Taro in control.
Something. English is my second language, so go easy on me. I knew Geoff for over 15 years. Over these 15 years, he was a rival, an ally, an enemy, but most often a beloved friend. We went from arguing against each other on the Team Liquid forums to arguing together on behalf of StarCraft or greater evils like Combat X and his manager. We hosted shows together, and we argued and we argued and we learned about each other's perspectives and approaches, both verbally and non-verbally, through thousands and probably a couple of thousand games of StarCraft played against each other or with each other. There aren't many things that I know, and yet I'm confident that I know this much about Geoff. He was a very rare type of person, most often confident, but also altruistic and selfless. Geoff always pushed himself and people around him to do the best that they could, and if he found himself sitting atop of a podium, by popular demand, then you would know that he would always be trying to reach and pull others up with him. That's just the kind of man he was. He was happy if people around him were happy. Geoff was a great motivator and a champion for the little guy. His idealism was the hand to the glove that was his intellect and wit, and he packed a strong punch both figuratively and literally. Little is known about the phenomena that is laughter, but without getting too abstract, I like to think of it as the fleeting expression or value of both joy and happiness. If a hint of this is true, then I am confident that Geoff was one of the best happiness-producing machines out there. His humor had qualities that I think stem from this extremely rare mix that he possessed of both wit and empathy. He was a completionist by his own admission, and this applied to his humor too. He liked to say that it's okay if he has some bad jokes because something like 80% of the time they're good. I think he had a little bit higher win rate than that even, on the joke front. I think that this brave mindset and his natural confidence led Geoff to do the longest, funniest improvised bits I've seen anyone ever do. You could be laughing uncontrollably, but if funny tears weren't pouring out, then his job wasn't done yet. Geoff was an incredible impersonator too. Not just because he could make his voice and tone and mold them. Those are just the mechanics. Most impressively, he had a talent for observing and extracting the essence of a character and then saying things that he thought perhaps an exaggerated version of that character could say. I think that he could do this not because he was out with a notepad writing what and how people were communicating, but rather because he listened, because he really cared. I'm gonna miss you, buddy. And Taro in control.
Geoff and I had already known each other and had talked to each other a fair bit online over the, I'd say 5 or 6 year period, but only actually met for the first time, I think, at IEM Katowice 2015. And I remember, honestly, when I first met him, I was just a little bit intimidated because I knew that he was a very strong personality, and I didn't know if we would click because I'm also a bit of a strong personality, but we actually got along like a house on fire. And nothing changed. We had a few arguments and that sort of thing, like disagreements between people, but I respect that in my friends, that I can have arguments with them and disagreements. And Geoff, I know, did too. He often talked about how he really liked to be challenged. He was always very upfront about trying to keep his relationships as real and as open as possible. I remember, one of the things I first learned when I met Geoff was just how much he actually loved Australians. He said he had a few Australians as moderators in his chat. I remember when he was talking to Legionnaire at the StarCraft Remastered launch event and just teasing him about just basic Australian stuff, drop bears and that sort of thing, And he always said that he loves Australians because they're the kind of people that he can a lot of people know that Geoff likes to poke fun and that sort of thing, and we as a people, we do that as well on a daily basis, especially if we're close with each other. We really like to dig in and just give each other a little bit of shit. And he loved that he could do that with Australians in general, and definitely all the ones that he met. You know, he would. It was sort of like a baptism of fire when you're with Jeffrey, where he would be like, "I'm gonna try poking you in the ribs and see how you react," and and he definitely did that to me, and I appreciated it. You know, I loved it. There are so few people in this world that can make me just cry laughing, and Geoff was definitely one of those. He actually is a funny story. He got. It seemed like he was getting frustrated with how I just every event I'd be like, dude, if I had $1 for every time I laughed because of you, and he would just. And I remember the last time he just responded saying, if I had $1 every time you told me this story. But it's true, man. Like, there's only a couple people in my life that have ever done that. Like, they can just make me double over laughing. There's clips out there of me just like booming with laughter from a different room that you can hear coming through the microphone at like a desk segment because he's just slain me so hard. But everyone that knows him knows how funny he is. Geoff is always himself, almost to a fault, but he was always very much an individual, which I really respected. If there was a hard truth or something needed to be said, an elephant in the room, if you will, like something like that, he would always... he would be the guy to not skirt around the issue. He would always try and tackle it head on, which I think is really respectful. And but even though he was always himself, and you know, that funny sort of clowny guy on the desk, he was also a consummate professional. We did the grand final of, I think, his last Premier tournament that he casted, the IM Katowice grand final with Sue against Stats. Was actually with me, and we cast it together, and I mean, we just did our fist bump, and he's like, crush it, man. I said, you too, and we knew it was going to be a great cast before we even said word one, just because we just had done it so many times, and we're in sync at that point. And I remember a few days before he died, I jumped into his Twitch channel. He was, I think, playing Apex. He was just trying to branch into other games and have a good time streaming, because he was such a workhorse, such a grinder when it came to streaming. And just anything in general, he was such a hard worker. I resubbed and just said that, I don't know, it was like 50-something months or something like that. I'd been subbed to him for so long. And he just said to me, Maynarde, he said, thank you for the resub, man. I just truly feel honored to have you as a friend, to call you a friend. And same back to you, Geoff. I'm going to miss you, man. Geoff is just the most genuine, passionate, and irreplaceable person that I've met, and I'm going to miss him so much. Entaro in control.
Entaro in control. The thing that I think most people think about when they hear about Geoff in Control Robinson is he was the wittiest man you will ever see on a broadcast. No, actually, he was just the wittiest man, period, that I think I'll ever meet. He was so fast on his feet, and I think that's one of the things that everyone came to know about him, right, on all the various public forums that he would be engaged in. But I think in the more private moments, the thing that always stood out to me about Geoff was how much of an amazing human being he would be to people who weren't necessarily in the good place. Geoff was the kind of guy that he's a big guy, and he can be intimidating, especially with how, I mean, smart and fast he was on his feet in conversation. But he was so caring and so thoughtful about his fellow human beings. He put so much time and thought into figuring out how to make someone feel better in certain situations. He was the first guy to reach out a hand when someone seemed like they needed a hand or someone just to talk to. And he really was a big brother for a lot of people in the scene, myself included. And that's one thing I really, really appreciated about Geoff. When I was going through some really, really tough times, I distinctly remember he kind of just offhandedly mentioned after a StarCraft WCS Challenger broadcast and kind of say like, "Hey man, let's go to Pasta Pomodoro. Let's grab dinner. It's on me." And we talked for a while, and I think it's one of the things about Geoff that when you get to know him in that sort of more personal setting, there's something about him. He was so easy to open up to. For all of his jokes and all of his really racy comments that he'd make on broadcasts and everything, there was something so mature about him that made it feel like when you talk to him, he would get it. He wouldn't be one of those people that just looks at you with judgment or kind of just says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, I'm not the person to tell this to." He was just there. He was so ready to be there for his fellow man. And it's something that was unbelievably helpful for me. I really got to talk out a lot of things with him, and he gave some great advice and talked to me like a human and made me feel a lot better. And I know that's not the first time he's done that. Geoff is also the kind of guy who, in the past, when he didn't know me at all, multiple times had spent just time that he didn't have to, by any way, shape, or form, helping me out, trying to coach me on my commentary, or casting a random small community event that by no means did I have any way of really paying him to be there or anything. Geoff was just that kind of guy. He was ready to be there for people that he liked, and he was just an amazing human being. And it's going to be tough to imagine a world without Geoff, but I think there's one thing that I can say Geoff has done is he's had such an amazing positive impact on so many people. And I think everyone has not just one, but multiple lessons that they've learned about things Geoff was so amazing at. Facing reality with still having this degree of positivity and optimism without really shying away from the kind of darker sides of life. I think it's probably one of the best lessons that Geoff really, really believed in and carried through every single day in his life. So thank you so much for everything, Geoff. I'm going to miss you.
You know, for the people who don't know, I'm Kevin van der Kooi, also known as Rotterdam. I've known Geoff since basically the beginning of StarCraft 2. I'm going to try to keep this short, but as you guys see, Geoff likes to make fun of my, the things that I think are short. Geoff doesn't necessarily always think it was. So, yeah. Basically, when StarCraft 2 came out, I think StarCraft 2 was kind of a mix between people who came from Warcraft and people who came from Brood War, and maybe in a way, because we were all gamers, there was some sort of competition and rivalry. The moment I met Geoff, it really never was there. You know, there was no Warcraft or StarCraft. It was like, no, we all love StarCraft, and you know, if you're nice to Geoff, he was going to be nice to you. And that's pretty much the first impression I got of him. It took a little while before I actually got a lot closer to Geoff, as he was more of a player in the beginning, and I was always a caster. The moment he started focusing a little bit more on casting, I had the joy and pleasure of spending way more time with him, and other than just seeing him at an event. And it's safe to say that really everything changed, because I think it goes for a lot of people in this room when we say that Geoff is the funniest person we've ever met. And I think his humor will always be with us. Besides Geoff's humor though, even though it is so easy to focus on this, and I think it is important to do, like, I love the highlight reel, but I think we could have made that highlight reel 20 hours and nobody would have been bored, because there is so much good stuff out there from Geoff. But Geoff wasn't just funny, as a lot of the guys before me said. I think Geoff really taught me a lot about life as well. Even though we were pretty much the same age, I think maybe I was a little more out of control in some regards than Geoff was. And the moment he starts caring about you, he's going to call you out on that. And I actually love that about Geoff as well. He never held back, and I feel like he taught me a lot of things about how to become a better human being, and things that I will truly never forget. Even like little things, as Geoff had certain sayings, and I don't know what it is with Geoff, but when he said something, it really stuck to me. And once upon a time, somebody was arguing, and Geoff used a line that maybe some of you guys know, where he's like, is that really the hill you want to die on? And I was like, what does that even mean? And he explained it to me, and I was like, I really like that. And then like, it came up like months after that, and like these are the little things that will always stick with me. Now, I didn't have the privilege of some of you guys of living close to Geoff and maybe seeing him, multiple times a week, but there was always, you look forward to the next event, because when you know that Geoff was going to be there, you just knew that it was going to be fun. That's the way it is. And it's supposed to be normal. We're supposed to go to an event, and at the end of an event, we give each other a hug, and there is always a next time. And even though Geoff is not necessarily going to be there, I think humor-wise and spirit-wise, he will always be there, because that's the way it currently is as well. We do a lot of StarCraft events, and Geoff was with us with a lot of them, but the ones he was not there, he was still one of the centers of the conversation. Like, we were not as funny as Geoff, so we would repeat his jokes. and it worked, because like we would just go over the same stuff we all knew already, but it was just so freaking funny. And that's how I think it's always going to be. For me personally, it's not just going to be the events where I'll miss Geoff. I often said that Geoff on camera, as you guys could see, he was amazing. He was obviously very talented, and he was my favorite person to work with. But off camera, like just in the green rooms and stuff, I wish there was a recording of the things that he did with us and the moments we had, because I truly will never forget them. I know my colleagues, all the other StarCraft casters, will truly never forget them, because laughter is not even the right word to describe what he did to us. He really put us in the next state, and that's the way I think we will always remember it. Obviously, it was not just the parts or the times where I met Geoff at the events. Online, I started to become a lot closer with Geoff as well. And I think a lot because we had pretty much the same sense of humor. Geoff liked to make fun of me. And some people were like, oh, that's bad. But actually, I was always the person who enjoyed it the most. I was always the one who was laughing the most. And it reached a level where I think at one point you just give each other a look, and then you just knew enough already. And instead of like even explaining a joke, you take a screenshot of something that's funny, and we would laugh. And I'm going to miss that so incredibly much. Just like Geoff, I stream a lot of StarCraft 2. And for me, it was pretty much the norm that if I would stream for 5 or 6 hours, eventually someone would say something ridiculous, as they always do on the internet. And then Geoff would be there in caps lock, making fun of that guy. And like instead of being annoyed, you just start laughing, because like that's kind of what I got used to. And thinking of that never occurring again is really difficult. But I also know that, he will always be with us. And even if he doesn't necessarily show up in chat, I hear what he says. And it's just one of those things where you don't even have to see it to know what it would be. Oh, sorry. I mean, there's a lot of things that I can go over, but I don't want to do what I always did on the analysis desk and maybe drag it out longer than it was. Like I said before, there were certain things that were just really funny about Geoff as well. Even if he didn't necessarily mean it, at events, Geoff would hang out with us, but he would put so much energy into the broadcast and obviously in the green room that while certain people would stay in the lobby for like a few extra hours, Geoff would sit with us, have one drink, and then Geoff would stand up, he's like, gotta go. And then he would just walk off. And we started doing this every event, whether Geoff is there or not. We would look at each other and be like, gotta go. And then we would walk off. And these are the things that we will always do. I am just above all very grateful that I got to spend so much time with Geoff. Like I said many times already, he's truly a person I will never forget. He will always be with me. And I think with all of you guys. I am happy that Geoff even managed to spend some time in the Netherlands a couple of times and introduced him to my family, and they all loved him. And they didn't necessarily always love all my gaming friends, but they're like, that American guy, he's very sweet and very funny, even though I had to translate the jokes, but it did work. I'm just going to say that I'm going to obviously miss him incredibly much. Geoff is somebody that I think of every single time I see a white monster. Every single time a football, or in his words, a soccer game is 0-0, I hear him make fun of me for it being another very exciting game. It's going to be very difficult every single time I post a picture of my dogs. Geoff would always reply with a heart emoji, because the love that he had for Barristan, it seems like he had them for every other dog as well that he ever spent time with. And I think that's it. Geoff, I love you, and I'll never forget you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good people of the world, a hero has fallen. Geoff InControl Robinson, pillar of our communities, has passed away. A man of strength, wit, and courage, who built, entertained, and led, set a kingly example for us. By the sweat of his brow, by the fire of his passion, he championed the things he loved. If there was iron, he would lift it. If there was a dull, awkward, or tense moment, he would diffuse it. In the realm of discussion, he brought candor and tact, and sometimes adult humor. He was a genuine guy, neither false nor fake, and the life that he lived was true. He was a competitor who sought out challenge and pushed himself as few others do. The guy was hilarious, and his legend still lives when his jokes and his quips echo through you. So grieve as you must, for his death is great loss, but do not despair, and take this thought: our world was made better by this beast of a man who would want you to excel and succeed and live the life that you've planned. Because he sure as hell did. Thank you, Geoff InControl Robinson. We will never forget you.
I am joined here at the desk by the one and only InControl.
Hello, it's good. I'm glad to do this. This is all building up for this moment right here now. Let's cast some WCS, let's do it. I think he's more of like a kind of a warmish stick of butter, I believe. A very good looking one though, the kind you want to slather on your body.
I have one question to start things off, asking MC. Did you ever think you were gonna lose?
Bliss. Guys, I see someone's very excited for this series. Zest looks darn good with this shirt off, but in this game, he might as well keep all his clothes on because it's not looking so hot. So wrong, so incredibly wrong. Representing freedom, burgers, French fries, and all that is good in this world, it is Neeb!
I didn't get enough of you on the couch during the Haas match.
You can't escape.
And here we are again together, so
give me a hug.
That's it, folks. Thank you everyone who submitted video clips and everyone who has helped with this project.